met him 15 years ago, I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding in even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good and evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 to try and keep him locked up, because I realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. Welcome, everybody, to another Fancast Friday. Did you like that opening? I was very proud of that opening. That's why I dressed like Dr. Loomis here. I tried my best. If you didn't like it, well, you can go fuck yourself, because that was an awesome opening. Anyway, welcome, guys. We are here to talk Fancast Friday, the man, the myth, the legend, only known as Dr. Loomis. So let's get into this wonderful man. Now, obviously, Michael Myers is going to be harder to Fancast. You just need a guy, a big guy behind a mask. Can't really do that, but why not the wonderful doctor who was with us in 6 Halloween films and 2 remake films, and probably the most consistent part of the franchise outside of Laurie Strode herself. So let's really get into that. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. And, thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Obviously, guys, we're going to be getting into your suggestions at the very end. Yes, I like doing that. Anyway, so we had, we have so many people in the, okay, so Tony's in the chat. Anthony is in the chat. Hi, Anthony. Nice to see you. We have, we have got acres of movies. So many people in the chat asking, telling us their choices. But don't worry, we're going to be getting into those later. We are going to be talking about our choices that we have first. And, we're going to be getting into that. Oh, God, that's got such a fucking great monologue. I think it was partially written by Donald Pleasance, too, because he's like, this is dribble. I'm going to come up with something of my own. So, thank you. Hit the like button for my wonderful Sam Loomis impression. I actually was surprised I actually did it pretty well, because usually it's not very good, but I think I did a good job there. So, obviously, first things first, we have to get the poll out of the way. The poll that you guys actually voted on. I was very, very happy. Very, very happy that you guys voted on Sam Loomis. Now, I wouldn't have minded Ghost Rider or Victor Zsasz or even the Devil, but Sam Loomis is just a phenomenal character. Donald Pleasance played him amazingly. Malcolm McDowell, I think, had subpar material to work with, hence why his version wasn't as good as other versions. For the fans, by a fan, that is correct. But don't worry, you guys, we're going to getting into yourself. My beard is a little bit wily today. I know Sam Loomis had a much better beard than I. But so this is what you guys voted for, and of course, Ghost Rider is going to be appearing on the next Fancast Friday, so don't you worry about that. So if you guys want to see that, vote for him for next week. Now, Sam Loomis, God, the heroic doctor, the wonderful heroic doctor. Now, we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be turning off the music, because the music kind of annoys me for a while. And I have to do this in a suit too. See, I do a lot for you guys, I just want you to know I appreciate you. Anyway, so I have filibustered a little bit too long. Obviously, a couple of choices because they're already in the thumbnail. So that is when we will be getting into the wonderful doctor. Now, we have a bunch of choices. I think I have some pretty good choices. Yes, making trench. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a trench. My dad got rid of his trench coat years ago, and I don't own a trench coat. So unfortunately, I could not get the trench coat. But I did get like a brownish kind of suit that he kind of wears in the movie. So, I mean, that's neither here nor there. Um, well, it was in Halloween Kills, but yes, I agree with you. That was fucking legendary. So, I think, you know, uh, well, that was from Slow Horses. So, and the thing is, Dan loves his slow horses, so he had to include that in there. But the thing is, he kind of looks dingy like Dr. Loomis in there, like a dingy Dr. Loomis in that show. But anyway, we'll be getting into that. So anyway, Dr. Loomis, there's no plans to include Dr. Loomis anywhere in a film, in an upcoming Halloween movie. So this is just kind of similar to Freddy Krueger. See, we did Halloween movies and we did Nightmare movies, so it makes sense that we do Freddy and then a major character from the Halloween franchise, since we can't really do Michael. So first things first, obviously, the man front and center, obviously, Ray Fiennes. Now, Ray Fiennes is 62. Now, keep in mind, Donald Pleasance was 58, 59 when the first movie was filming and was released. I don't think they ever talk about that, but it's I think well it was at least 15 because that's what he says in the monologue. So I think I would say like probably like 20 to 30 years. Maybe they say it in the remake. I'm not too sure. Um, you know, anyway, but Ray Fiennes, Ray Fiennes, I think he has the sophistication needed for the character. Now, the character of Donald Pleasance, he's not like the most sophisticated actor in the world. He was the talent, according to Jamie Lee Curtis. He was the talent of the movie. So, obviously get someone who is in that like depth of talent, someone who could sell these sillier ideas and sell these lines. And I think Ray Fiennes is one of the many men that could do that. Because what was going through my head, who can do that monologue? Who can do the Devil's Eyes monologue and sell it very well? So I thought Ray Fiennes. When I imagine that, I'm like, that is a man that can sell that fucking monologue. And these are more prestige examples than Donald Pleasance himself because, he wasn't exactly the most prestigious actor. I mean, he was in a lot of great movies. I mean, he was in Great Escape, which was legendary, amazing film. So, unfortunately, Dan won't be joining us. He has dog duty today, and that's much with what Zelda's going through right now. That's much more important. So it's just me for this Halloween day, which, makes sense because I'm the bigger Halloween horror fan. So it works. So he isn't scared to do major franchises. He's done James Bond. He's done Lego Batman. He's done a lot of ridiculous things that might consider be lesser for a man of his prestige. But I mean, he does artsy kind of films, but he's done bigger franchise, so he's not scared to do that. And he's the perfect age for the character. He's a little bit older, but I feel like he still looks very good for his age. Like he looks like he's in his mid to late 50s at this point. And he would give an unforgettable performance. Like, if there is anybody that would be near perfect for the job, it would be Ray Fiennes. Like, I can't, obviously, he is very highbrow, and he is possibly too prestige for a horror franchise. He has done horror movies. He did do The Menu, but that was, kind of more prestige, artsy kind of vibe. So I can see him not being interested in something like Halloween. But even then, I still think he would do an absolutely fantastic job. And but even with that, he was probably not interested in doing something like Halloween. But I mean, look at him in the trench coat. Boom, he can fucking nail that really well. And he has all the things that are required of Loomis. He's good at his job for the most part. Outside of Michael, probably. But he has that old school vibe. He's a heroic man, but he's also not a crazy man, but someone who's running around warning people of evil, kind of like Kevin McCarthy in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So, he's just like, the evil is gone from here. Like that kind of like I could see him kind of running around doing that while he does these very prestigious monologues. So, I think even though he's probably not interested and he's probably too high bar for these franchises, I still say it's a woo baby. That's what I'm talking about. It's a 9, not a 10, but it is a 9 because I still think there is the last gasp of like he's probably not interested in doing something like this. You know, uh, I think I mean, well, the thing with Liam Neeson, he literally just did a comedy. He just did The Naked Gun and he sold those funnier lines. So, um but yeah, I think Tony said, like, literally Ray Fiennes, he was in the Lego Batman movie, which is a very funny, and Christoph Waltz was in Horrible Bosses too, which, don't get me wrong, not a good movie, but he clearly can do comedy. And Christoph Waltz, he also had a lot of comedy with his character, despite playing a Nazi in Inglourious Bastards and playing the character of Schultz in Django Unchained. So clearly he's done more comedic things. So, but I still think, ooh, baby, that's what I'm talking about. I think. But speaking of Christoph Waltz, hey, that was my second choice. Look at him in that trench coat. Look at him selling that. But Christoph Waltz is actually my second choice. He is an absolutely exceptional talent. Like, the man got 2 Best Supporting Oscars like that and that. Like, boom, boom. His 2 roles with Tarantino were just bam, bam. Perfect. Absolutely exceptional talent. And he can get away with a small role in the film because he's usually a supporting character. He's never really like a big character. He's never like the focal point unless he's like the villain. But Dr. Sam Loomis is usually the smaller character in the film because he's usually supporting, because it's usually the final girl, her friends, those characters. He's usually smaller than in than the typical horror fare. So there's that, and he's no stranger to horror. He's doing he just did Frankenstein. Frankenstein is out/coming out, and then Dracula: A Love Tale, which is essentially Luc Besson's like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. It's essentially a remake of Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. But, he still is no stranger to horror. But the thing is, there are some downsides. He's probably too old for the character. He's pushing 70 at this point. And the thing is, he might be a little bit too sinister for the role because he's used to playing villains. Not saying he can't do, like, that he can't do more heroic roles like Sam Loomis. So I think, with that, I think, and the thing is, people only see him as a villain, so that's also a major downside, unfortunately. But I think he would do a really good. I don't think he would be the best man for that. I think Ray Fiennes would do a better job. I still think Christoph Waltz would be excellent in the role. And I think he could do like some of the darker aspects of Loomis's character. I think he could do some of the more what's the word I'm looking for? Like kind of the kind of damaged parts of his character that you only saw glimpses of in later films. It wouldn't be dark like Halloween 5 or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 levels of bad, where it's like, I'm offering a little girl as a sacrifice, or, essentially Dr. Loomis being a fucking asshole for no reason. So I think with all of this, I think he would, but still play it a little bit too sinisterly, but still I think he could do a good job and do the darker parts of the character, but still remain like a heroic character. Exactly. More like anti-hero vibes. Exactly. More morally ambiguous parts of Dr. Loomis, which I don't love because I think Halloween 5 took it way too far, because I really don't like how Loomis is portrayed in the movie. It's very out of character. Even Donald Pleasance himself said he's way out of character. So I think with that, I think it would probably be like nice. I think he could do a very good job, but it's unlikely he would probably take it, in addition to the fact that I think he would play it too sinisterly. I think he would play it a little bit too dark, even though I think that would be an interesting way to play the character. I think it would be too much, even for Dr. Loomis. So the next one I have is Nicolas Cage. You could probably see on the thumbnail. I know it's an out there choice. Now, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Like, he would play it more villainous. Like, like Halloween 5, where he like treated people like shit and like offered Jamie Lloyd as a sacrifice to Michael, that type of shit. I don't think he would play it like that, but you know, uh, you know, Nicolas Cage is an out there guy. Yes, he could bring a very different portrayal to the character. And the thing is, and if we're going for quiet, subdued Nicolas Cage, like think of Nicolas Cage in that movie Pig. That movie was excellent, and he was the best part of it. Like, he played, despite being this like dingy hobo outsider kind of character, like he still had this intelligence to him. He still was refined. There was more to him than you think. And I think he could bring a lot of the intelligence of Dr. Loomis into this character. And if we get like nice, like subdued Nicolas Cage, I think he could do that very. Remember, this man has an Oscar to his name. So I think he could very much do like a very like quieter, like, you know, intelligent Loomis. Yes. Thank you. Figure drawing. Thank you. But yeah, I think yeah, but he also has a great respect for roles like this, because he's not, even though he's been in a lot of like more prestigious stuff, he still likes doing genre movies, and I think he has a great respect for them, and has a great respect for anything he does or anything that comes his way, and he's willing to do Garbo stuff like Sorcerer's Apprentice and crap like that. But even then, I still think he has a respect for like what came before, and seeing stuff that other people might not see. And some people might not see Halloween as a prestigious franchise, for good reason. But even then, I think he might see like the greatness of Halloween and have a lot of respect, especially for like an age-old actor like Donald Pleasance. So there is that too. And he loves genre films as much as higher brow films. Like, he can do like Color Out of Space, but then do Pig. He can do something like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, but then do like Lord of War or something like that. Like, he has like, or Dream Scenario, like he could do like those kinds of things. But the problem with Nick Cage is Donald Pleasance was a relatively big name at the time, but not like too big. Donald Pleasance was in a lot of great things and did great work, but he wasn't like A-lister. Nick Cage is kind of an A-lister. And so he's might be too big of a name. People associate him, like people wouldn't be able to like accept him in the role, because people think, oh, Nick motherfucking Cage. Like, they'll think of that Nick Cage and not think of the stuff that like he can do very well, more subtle stuff. But the thing is, he's also not British or European, which is like kind of like a prowess, I feel like, you know, he has. And yes, Nick Cage has range, but there is the, people do think of the Nick motherfucking Cage, like that kind of thing. So, I think he would do a phenomenal job. Now, maybe not the greatest job, but I think he would bring an intelligence to the character and a subdued, quiet darkness that I think would be really good. And because of that, I think let him cook. I think let him cook, baby. Let's go. I think he would cook with this. I think he would do a great job. It's just there are a couple things that prevent him from doing better, but there are fans of his that are like, you know what? He does great work when he's in like not insane movies and doing the insane Cage type of thing, yeah. So with that, I think Nick Cage would do a very wonderful job in the role. Maybe not the greatest job, but I think he'd do a very wonderful job. Next is another slightly out there choice, but I think, again, would do great work. That's Mads Mikkelsen. Now, he is with Mads Mikkelsen, he's kind of in that Donald Pleasance kind of vibe where it's the perfect balance between a known name and not. People know Mads Mikkelsen. He's like, oh, the guy from Rogue One, or the guy who played Hannibal, or this guy, or the guy in Casino Royale. But he's not really a known name. Donald Pleasance, like, oh, the guy from The Great Escape, the guy from this movie, the guy from that movie. But he's not like a known name. Halloween kind of like resurged his career a little bit after he was like kind of like aging out of it. So I think Mads Mikkelsen is like and he is the exact same age as Donald Pleasance when the movie was released. So there is that as well. And he has played a great range of characters and roles. He's done The Hunt, he's done Mute, he's done, Casino Royale, he's done so much stuff. And I just realized I picked three characters. I just realized who played three Bond characters, two of which in the new in the Daniel Craig movies. I just realized that because I knew Christoph Waltz and Ralph Fiennes, M and Blofeld respectively, but I forgot he played Le Chiffre in Casino Royale. Duh, how can I forget that? But even then, he has played a beloved character that people have accepted / loved, which was Hannibal, because everyone's like, that's Hopkins' role, even though other guys have played that role, like Brian Cox and the guy who ever played him in Hannibal Rising. They're like, Anthony Hopkins, that is his role. That is his only role. This guy, no, he can't do it. And then through 3 to 4 seasons, was accepted. He was considered either the second best or even the best Hannibal Lecter. So that's saying something. And I feel like he could do that for Sam Loomis. It would be very, very out there. I think now, unfortunately, the problem for me, I didn't write the cons down for this guy. So ignore the cons. I forgot to write them down. These were for last week. I greatly apologize for that. I thought I got them all down. I greatly apologize for that. So if I were to say any cons, ignore the ones on the screen. I'm just gonna, so if I were to say any cons for Mads Mikkelsen, I would say he's kind of box office poison a little bit. Pretty much any movie he does, in at least in the States, really doesn't do well, maybe with the exception of Rogue One. A lot of the stuff he's done has not hit well, so that could be a fact of the matter. But I think it's whatever. But then there's also the idea that he is Dutch, so that's I believe he's Dutch, Netherlands. I don't think people would like that. Similar why they might not like Nick Cage in the role, and also Christoph Waltz is Austrian, so they might not want to do that. Polar was the thing I was thinking of, not Mute. Polar, I apologize for that. I'm saying what the fans would like. They're like, I only want a British guy for the role, so we can only have a British guy. Now, would I love it? Yes, I wouldn't mind this at all. That's why I'm fucking recommending him. However, I'm just thinking in the mind of of the fans, maybe even a studio exec would be like, oh no, we can't have a guy who's Dutch or Austrian or anything like that. We have to have a British guy. So the last 3 roles might not be good. So there's that. And the thing is, he's kind of on the down low a little bit. I'm just, yeah, exactly. Boom. There we go. I don't think he has to be British either, but I'm just thinking in the minds of like really hardcore fans, because Halloween fans can be shit insane. So there's that. But I think I still think he would do a really good job. I apologize for fucking up the cons. I thought I did them, but I guess I didn't. Greatly apologize for that. But I think Mads Mikkelsen is another woo baby. That's what I'm talking about. So I think Mads Mikkelsen would be very much excellent in the role. Ignore the cons. Those are not for him. Those were for last week because we go in and replace them. And, I apologize for that, but I think even with all that, he would be a 9 for the role. Next up is probably my least favorite choice out of all of these, but I think he could do it okay, is Ewan McGregor. Um, so he's the youngest guy on this list. But the thing is, with Ewan McGregor, I think he would get the more heroic aspects of the character down. I think you know, you know, ooh, yeah, thanks, Tony. He's played very, I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is a big one, of course, but he's usually playing very heroic. Christopher Robin is more subdued, but again, kind of that wholesome, heroic character. Um, it looks like Tom Lee Jones. It kind of does. Names my son after Ewan. Yeah, so he's played very heroic characters in the past, and he has a great range of roles from independent to franchise material, which is what Halloween started off as, was an independent film, so, and it became bigger franchise stuff. So with that, I think whatever they decide to do for Halloween, whether it's big budget franchise as far as you can go for horror, or like super small independent like the original film, I think he would be into that. And he would probably love to do something different like Halloween. He's a working actor. He's constantly doing stuff. So I think he would be into the idea of like, oh, Halloween, okay, I think I'd be into that. I think I could do that. Um so but yeah, I think ooh, nice, Stephen Ortega. Love to see it. Love Hershey's, and I love Kit Kats. Yeah, so I think he would be into the idea of that. But the thing is, he's also Ewan McGregor, even in his older state, he's a little too pretty for the role. Like Ray Fiennes, Christoph Waltz, Mads Mikkelsen, and Nicolas Cage are all, I wouldn't say they're ugly men, but they're more like everymen. Like they're average looking. They're not like, oh my god, sexy. Like Ewan McGregor, like Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, like Ewan McGregor, he was like kind of sexy, and even then, he's aged gracefully. So he might be a little too pretty for the role, while Donald Pleasance was more average. Honestly, you should have made that a super chat. I need to think of Fancast days ahead instead of an hour before show. No, you're good, man. You're not. But unfortunately, the last major franchise film he did not do very well, and that was Birds of Prey. So it might be avoiding franchises. The Star Wars is his bread and butter. Like that's known. Kenobi's fine, but like his last major one that was outside of that was Birds of Prey, because it's not a Birds of Prey movie. It's Margot Robbie's ego trip, and I think he and maybe Pseudogex might not want him for that. And the thing is, he might be too busy. As I said, he's a working actor. I saw his filmography. He was doing like 2-3 projects a year, so he might not be able to do it even if he wanted to. So with that, let's go back to the beginning. So those are my 5 choices for now. Before we go into honorable mentions, my 5 choice. I also apologize. I forgot to give him a banner. So with that, I think it's even odds. Maybe like in between 5 and 6. Like I'd buy that for $1. Like even odds, I'd buy that for $1. Like I think it'd be pretty good, but it's for the most part unlikely. But still decent odds. But anyway, apologies for that. Now we go back to my choices. Is Ray Fiennes? I think he would probably be the best. Then we have Christoph Waltz, who I think could be I think Ray Fiennes would just be like nail a lot of aspects of Loomis. I think Christoph Waltz could do the darker, more morally ambiguous aspects of the character very well. Nicolas Cage could bring the intelligence and subdued intensity of Loomis. And then Mads Mikkelsen, I think, would be able, similar to Ray Fiennes, do everything. That's why I also voted him a 9. And then Ewan McGregor, I think he could do like more of the heroic aspects of Loomis. But I don't think he would be the best role. Now we get into the honorable mentions. Now, ironically, somebody mentioned, Cillian Murphy, and well, he is one of my honorable mentions. Now, we already kind of, spoiled one of the honorable mentions on the thumbnail, but Cillian Murphy could offer something very prestige because he's, Cillian fucking Murphy. Gary Oldman, he's got the overcoat right there. He's got the trench coat. He's got the like kind of like average looking Joe Schmo kind of vibe that like Sam Loomis could have. And then Malcolm McDowell, I think even though he's very old, I think he could, like, if even in a separate continuity or something, I think he could still do one. I think he still has one more in him. I think he could do it. And I think he could do it well. It's just unfortunately he was kind of wasted in those movies and he was given very subpar material. Now, the reason, um, you know, you know, but but Cillian Murphy and Gary Oldman actually have history behind them. Cillian Murphy, for instance, there is a guy named Steph Hutchinson. He writes a bunch of Halloween comics. He's written, I think, 4 or 5 miniseries, Halloween comics. I've heard they're very good. Night Dance, I think he did, which was apparently very good. The Death of Laurie Strode was another one that unfortunately never got finished. And like Devil's Eyes was another one, or The Blackest Eyes or something like that. But he does a lot of comics. He also wrote 2 scripts. He wrote one for a Halloween 3D, which was going to be in the Rob Zombie universe. And then he wrote a Halloween reboot trilogy, which, believe it or not, was actually sounded fucking worse than the David Gordon Green movies, if you can believe it, because they brought in the Halloween multiverse. Yeah, I swear to God. And now these center more on Sam Loomis. And with that, Steph Hutchinson said, if I wanted anybody for my version of Sam Loomis, he said he would want Cillian Murphy. I think, but yeah, exactly. I think that's funny. And then Gary Oldman, similar story. I think it was Marcus Dunstan and Patrick something or other. I think it was Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. I think that's who wrote Halloween Returns. Halloween Returns. They wrote that, and that was also gonna kind of be a similar vibe to what Halloween 2018 was, except all new characters. Now, Dr. Loomis wasn't in the script. He was, however, in a post-credit scene, and he was described as very Gary Oldman-esque. And honestly, I think both Cillian Murphy and Gary Oldman can do that role. I think Gary Oldman's a little bit too old, and I think Cillian Murphy's a little bit too young. But I think both of those actors could still do a very, very good job. Gary Oldman could do a lot. He could pretty much be an even greater veteran, like, idea of Loomis. So he could do a much older Loomis, but do it very well. Yeah, I think he could. The Killing. I mean, he is known for being kind of asshole. Like Thomas Shelby is another one. I think. Yeah, exactly. Gary Oldman, the Chameleon, definitely. Yes, that's what it was. The Liminal. Oh my God, it sounded so fucking stupid. Like, imagine something worse than Halloween Ends. I know you probably can't, but it was. Woof. There was no scripts. It was just outlines, but it was so fucking bad. It was so bad. Yep, Peaky Blinders. Good stuff. So these are my honorable mentions: Cillian Murphy, Gary Oldman, and Malcolm McDowell. Now, obviously, we have more stuff to get into because we have what you guys are. I mean, so many people are recommending people. So the first thing is Anthony Manzano. He recommended Liam Neeson because, in my honest opinion, Dr. Sam Loomis has to be in his mid to late 60s to early 70s, and he has been a psychiatric doctor for over 40 years. Now, that's obviously your interpretation of the character, even though Dr. Loomis in the original was only like 60, so 59 specifically. So I think Liam Neeson could probably do it. I think he could do that very well. Andy Serkis, I think the Batman proved he could do like a darker, morally ambiguous character, like that version of Alfred kind of was. But Acres of Movies kept recommending stuff. He had Ed Harris, definitely Ed Harris. I could definitely picture Ed Harris in the role. He would be very good. Ray Winstone, I can see it, but I think it might be a little bit too much for him right now. Forrest Whitaker, I could see. Gina Davis, No. Gerard Butler can act, and David Strathairn, he's usually good for playing villainous characters, so it would be very interesting for him to pull that off, but I think he could do it. Ben Mendelsohn, I can't imagine it. I can't see him in that role. Could he do it? Probably, but I can't imagine it. I can't imagine him in the role. But outside of all of these that you recommended in this specific comment, because I know you kept recommending them, I would say Ed Harris or David Strathairn, I think, would be the best ones out of this comment. Tim Roth would be excellent. I think, again, more of that darker, sinister kind of Loomis vibes. Christoph Waltz, who we already talked about. I like a Loomis best where it was like he was using all the psychological and educational tools of 70s and 80s, but it won't work. Michael is a fail case. Perhaps have an evil twin. No, that's kind of dumb. We already mentioned this, but I don't think that they've done comedic stuff in the past that I think, especially a drier, like sarcastic British wit, they could do that very well. Even though, Ray Fiennes is British, Liam Neeson's Irish, and Christoph Waltz is Austrian. But Ralph Macchio, I think it's just his voice. Hey guys, I'm gotta get Michael Myers here. He kind of reminds me of like an old Tom Holland, like that voice. He's like, hey, how you doing? I gotta get Michael Myers here, and I gotta get Johnny Lawrence. Or it's just like I can't imagine the vibe. Ed Harris, as I mentioned, would be phenomenal. Akers agreeing with Tony that Tim Roth would be great. James Mac, they would be too young, but I think they, like 20 years from now, I think they could definitely do it. James Spader would be, like, if there is an American version of Loomis, he could definitely do it in addition to Nick Cage. And Harris, you mentioned that. Jeremy Northam, don't know who he is. What are your thoughts on this? I have an interesting idea. Instead of Loomis being in his early to mid 50s, how about him being in his early to mid 40s and have guys like Fassbender and McAvoy? Yeah, I think that, like, however they decide to do it, if they ever bring back Dr. Sam Loomis again, which I don't think they will, but I think that could be an interesting vibe. You mentioned a new one, a couple new people in this one. Tim Robbins, I could see it. Melissa Leo, no. Gerard Butler, no. John Carpenter himself is almost too old, way too old, and he doesn't give a fuck anymore. I believe if you get McGregor to play Dr. Loomis, he can pull off Loomis in his early to mid 40s if they go that way. I don't know about that. And then, the asshole parts of Dr. Loomis, I could see that. Bill Nighy, too old, but I can see it. Frank Langella, maybe like when the remakes were coming out, I could definitely have seen him then, but I think he's too old now. Dustin Hoffman, no way. B.D. Wong, can't see it. Lou Diamond Phillips, nah, not really. Jonathan Frakes, I think he's too, I can only see Riker. I'm sorry. Like Jonathan Frakes. I mean, I'm sure he's done other roles and he does directorial stuff, but I can only see Riker, and Riker is too much of a pompous dick to be Loomis. Patrick Wilson, I could see it, but I think he needs to age a little bit more to make it more believable. Hugo Weaving, I could definitely see it. I see a lot of these guys as them. Alfred Molina, I could definitely see it. Ben Kingsley, I can't see it. Jeffrey Rush, spelled it wrong, but I think he could be okay. But David Caruso, God, no, not David Caruso, someone who can actually act. But yes, that is it for the casting of Loomis. There's a lot of picks here, like Akers, calm down, buddy. Sam Rockwell, no, love the man, but I don't think he could do it. Calm down a bit. We only have so much time that we can do, and we're getting to the 40-minute mark. So let's calm down. We have to move on a little bit. So, yes. So next up is the poll. Is the next poll. Dan's posted this in the other chat, but you guys can vote for the next tier list Tuesday poll. Get all that done and over with now. But yes, thank you all for the pick suggestions. Also, Hugh Grant and Richard Gere, maybe I don't know, maybe Hugh Grant because he has the gray look now. Richard Gere, I don't know, he's too pretty. Richard Crenna could have probably done it in the 80s because he's dead now. But this is for Tier List Tuesday. Halloween Candy and Marvel Phase 4 movies have come back. Halloween Candy from last week, and then Marvel Phase 4 movies from 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, Dan. I did a bunch of Tier List Tuesdays by myself with all the stuff I was interested in. Well, Dan wants to do the stuff he's interested in. So we brought in Fast and Furious movies. And then, of course, Warner Brothers Suitors ranking the ranking all the companies interested in Warner Brothers and which ones would be the best or worst depending on what they're interested in and not. So yeah, well, we'll see. But Halloween Candy, post Halloween, get rid of those post Halloween depression blues, thinking of Halloween again. But but that's it for the Tier List Tuesday one. Now, please let us know in terms of Fancast Friday. Ghost Rider will be returning. So any other guys you would love to Fancast, love to see it. Obviously, we will keep options open for right now, but we are gonna be closing out the we're going to be closing this out for now. So please leave us your suggestions for the next Fancast Friday. We could, bring back other characters we've seen before that have lost on the poll, but bring them back. Maybe we could do like Miles Morales in the MCU. We could do Indiana Jones again. We can do a non-DC character, non-Marvel character, or do another DC Marvel character, whatever you like to see. Wonder Woman, since the public, no, because we've already done Wonder Woman. Go back to when we did that because there's only so many people that we could do for Wonder Woman, so just go back to that. We've already done Wonder Woman. Go back and look at that episode. Adrian Arjona, Katie O'Brien would be the top two. Spawn could be interesting. I'm not familiar with Spawn. I haven't read a lot of him, but I would be interested in that. But those are some of our suggestions. Now we have reached a point where most of America is no longer celebrating Halloween. So I think people on the West Coast are still doing it, but that's going to be it. But Dick Tracy could be interesting. But thank you all for watching. This has been a very, very, very fun one. I love Halloween. I love Dr. Sam Loomis as a character. I love Donald Pleasance. And since I kind of look like him, I thought it was fitting that I dress up like him a little bit for Halloween, even though it's technically no longer Halloween. But I hope you guys have had a great holiday. I hope you guys enjoyed watching our Halloween specials, even though the majority of them were not on Halloween for us. But even then, I hope you enjoy. Love and appreciate your suggestions. Thank you for watching. And I hope you guys have a very blessed weekend. And don't worry, you will be seeing us once again on November 3rd after the weekend. So once again, thank you for watching. And remember, the evil has gone from here.